everyone. Welcome back to all my listeners. This is episode 4 in season 14. Today is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. My name is Sonal Patel, and this is the Paint the Medical Picture podcast series. All right, you guys, can I still say Happy New Year, right? It's already the 22nd. I cannot believe that January is just going by so quickly. But yeah, Happy New Year. Hope everybody had a good start to their year. I was busy battling some strain of COVID for about 12 days that I contracted from my parents, who were busy, of course, jet setting around, and they both contracted it. And then I got stuck with it on the back end as well. But I've recovered now. Hopefully I won't cough like I did at the last recording for last week. But if I do, of course, I will put it on mute and then you will never know. But I hope everyone is staying healthy and happy in the new year. All right, you guys. So today's episode, there's been so much change in the world of coding, as my audience very well knows. So January 1st, had a lot of changes for CPT, but I wanted to touch on a newsworthy feature for today's episode on the telehealth extension for 2025. And in my trusty tip, I wanted to focus on what's new at the DEA. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and close out and round out today's episode with another remarkable quote on change by Charles Darwin. Today's episode is sponsored by HCPro. Now, are you new to coding or looking to sharpen your coding skills? Because you should look no further than HCPro's Certified Coder Bootcamp Original. This is the ultimate training program for mastering ICD-10-CM, CPT, and HCPCS Level 2 coding. This intensive course is designed to help healthcare professionals like yourselves develop a strong foundation in coding principles and guidelines. Whether you're coding for professional services or hospital outpatient settings, this bootcamp has you covered. Now, here's what you'll gain. Number 1, a comprehensive understanding of ICD-10-CM, CPT, and HCPCS Level 2 manuals. Number 2, you'll also gain hands-on practice with over 500 coding exercises, real-world application at its finest. And finally, 3rd, you'll also gain personalized instruction in small classroom sizes, ensuring that you get the attention you need to succeed. HCPro's next live in-person Certified Coder Bootcamp Original is being held in Charlotte, North Carolina, starting on Monday, March 17th, and runs through Friday, March 21st. Now, with more than 20 years of experience teaching coders, HCPro knows what it takes to prepare you for success. In fact, their course participants rate the bootcamp at 4.9 out of 5. That's amazing. Now, as a special thank you for tuning in, HCPro is going to be offering my audience 15% off of your registration for this bootcamp. So simply use the promo code SONAL15 at checkout on hcmarketplace.com. So don't wait. Take the first step toward coding confidence and career growth today. And remember that special promo code SONAL15 because it will save you 15% off of your registration. All right, you guys, let's get into the episode today. Now, in Newsworthy, there's so much change that I was alluding to in the introduction of the podcast, right? There's been so much that's happened, not only with 420 total CPT code changes that took effect on January 1st, but I wanted to remind my listeners about the final rule that was codified in the Federal Register as well. Now, the MAC in my region, the state of Illinois, is called National Government Services, or NGS. And I always receive emails from them. I poke about their webpage to see what is current, what is going on. Now, they have put up a notice about a week ago. It's a really nice synopsis on the telehealth extension. Now, it states that in Section 3207 of the American Relief Act of 2025, they modified Section 1634M of the Social Security Act to extend the waiver of the geographic, site of service, and practitioner type restrictions until March 31st, of 2025. So all that means is that our telehealth services will be extended through March 31st of 2025. So it's not for the full year, but it's throughout the month of March. Now, based on this new guidance, national government services will continue to pay claims with dates of service starting January 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2025, with the exact same flexibilities that were applied to telehealth and related services for fiscal year 2024. Now, number one, the geographic location will not be limited to rural areas for patients to receive telehealth. Thank goodness, right? So all of us in the cities, etc., can still receive telehealth services. There is no geographic location restriction. So the patient may receive telehealth service regardless of their geographic location. This is a very good thing. Number two, patients may continue to receive telehealth services within their home in place of the originating site for all services, not just behavioral health. So this is also a very good thing. Number three, no practitioner restrictions will be in place for providers that may render services via telehealth. Also very good. And finally, fourth, behavioral health waiver of required in-person visits within 6 months prior to telehealth and every 12 months after the initiation of telehealth continue to be waived. So that's also a very good thing. So there's no requirements of those behavioral health types of patient populations to be required to see that provider within 6 months. So again, that same flexibility that we've seen for these several years while we had the COVID-19 pandemic, that waiver is still going to be in place for that specific patient population for behavioral health. So again, quick reminder, these flexibilities are extended, but only through March 31st, 2025. All right, and now it's time for my best practice tips in Trusty Tip. So let me talk about what's new with our drug enforcement agency, the DEA. Now, the DEA has focused on the patient to ensure telemedicine is accessible for medical care. Now, importantly, they've stated in a press release that these new rules do not apply to telemedicine visits in which a patient has already been seen in person by a medical provider. Once a patient has had an in-person visit with a medical provider, the medical provider may prescribe any medications through telemedicine indefinitely. Also, if a telemedicine visit does not involve a patient being prescribed medications, then the telemedicine rules do not apply. Patients can always have telemedicine visits with medical providers. These rules only apply if a patient has never been seen in person by the medical provider and the patient is being prescribed controlled medication. Now, for Rule 1, this is for expansion of buprenorphine treatment via telemedicine encounter. Now, this rule provides patients with remote access to buprenorphine, which is the medication that's used to treat opioid use disorder. Now, this change allows a patient to receive a 6-month supply of buprenorphine through a telephone consultation with the provider. Further prescriptions of buprenorphine will require an in-person visit to a medical provider. Now, rule number 2 is for special registrations for telemedicine and limited state telemedicine registrations. Now, this proposed rule would establish special registrations that will permit a patient to receive prescribed medications through telemedicine visits without ever having an in-person medical evaluation from a medical provider. The special registration is available to medical providers who treat patients for whom they will prescribe Schedule 3 through 5 controlled substances. An advanced telemedicine prescribing registration is available for Schedule 2 medications when the medical practitioner is board certified in one of the following specialties: psychiatry, hospice care physicians, physicians rendering treatment at long-term care facilities, and pediatricians for prescribing of medications identified as most addictive and prone to diversion to illegal drug marketplaces. This regulation allows specialized medical providers to issue telemedicine prescriptions for Schedule 2 through 5 medications. Now, the DEA is seeking public comment on additional medical specialists that should be authorized to issue Schedule 2 medications. Public comments will also be requested on additional patient protections for the prescribing of Schedule 2 medications by telemedicine, including whether the special registrant should be physically located in the same state as the patient being prescribed Schedule 2 medications, whether to limit Schedule 2 medications by telemedicine to medical practitioners whose practice is limited to less than 50% of prescriptions by telemedicine, and the appropriate duration needed for the rule's provisions to be enacted. Now, for the first time, online platforms that facilitate connections between patients and medical providers that result in the prescription of medications will be required to register with the DEA. This is critical as the DEA has found some unscrupulous medical providers on online platforms that have used flexible telemedicine rules to put profit ahead of the well-being of patients. Now, the special registration rule will also require the establishment of a national PDMP to help the health industry protect against abuse and the diversion of controlled substances into the illegal drug market. A national PDMP will provide pharmacists and medical practitioners with visibility of a patient's prescribed medication history. And finally, Rule 3 is for the continuity of care via telemedicine for Veterans Affairs patients. Now, an additional rule was done in consultation with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, the VA. It exempts VA practitioners from special registration requirements. Once a patient has received an in-person medical examination from a VA medical practitioner, the provider-patient relationship is extended to all VA practitioners engaging in telemedicine with the patient. Now, the DEA states in their press release, quote, "The new rules were developed in consultation with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and after significant input from the public. The DEA received input during the public listening sessions that were hosted by the DEA in September of 2023. Healthcare practitioners, experts, advocates, and patients shared their experiences and their recommendations. The DEA also carefully reviewed and considered the more than 38,000 comments from the public in response to the original draft rule that was proposed back on March 1st of 2023. As a result of those comments and the listening session, the DEA has now made significant revisions to the draft rules." End quote. And finally, I focus season 14 Spark on change. I want this 14th season Spark to be filled with our world's thought leaders, writers, artists, philosophers, everyone who inspires us with their insights and their wisdom on change. So in this week's inspiring quote in Spark, it's from Charles Darwin. "It is not the strongest or the most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change." Absolutely true, right? These are very fitting, wise words for the first month of the new year, for Spark in season 14. Now, this quote reminds us that we will encounter so much change throughout our lives. Some of us will feel stress or panic, but others will work with the challenges. They will take those changes in stride and come out for the better. I'm happy Charles Darwin's spark burns brightly and still inspires so many. All right, you guys, I wish you all a very, very happy week ahead. There's just a couple more weeks left in this first month of 2025. So I can't wait to see you guys all again next week. Thank you so much for listening in on today's episode. And I hope every week with me brings you closer to helping your providers paint a masterpiece. See you next Wednesday.